Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another early live stream. How are you all doing on this Friday morning? I hope everybody is well. Hope everybody is good. And we're going to kick things off. We're talking about football. Of course we are. That's what this channel's about. But we're talking mainly Ibrahima Konate. He wants to leave Liverpool according to the latest reports. In this Konate situation, we'll be discussing that. We're going to be talking about Marc Guehi potentially being on the cards. That could potentially be something that is done very, very soon, apparently. We'll be talking about the latest on Luis Diaz's future as well. Seems to be another twist in that tale, and not exactly a positive one. If obviously there are Luis Diaz fans out there that want to keep him at the club. I'm also going to be talking a bit about rivals as well. We've got a bit of Arsenal to talk about. We may have a bit of Chelsea if we have the time. We shall see. But yes, as always with these live streams, as always with these videos, do get involved. Would love to hear from you all and what you have to say about any of the subjects that we're talking about here and anything else. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved in the chat as well on any of the talking points that we're going to be discussing in this video. Any talking points that you want to discuss in this video. Maybe some breaking news occurs whilst we're live. Maybe there are other news stories that you guys want to talk about that I'm sure will make for great and interesting reading that you want to discuss on the stream as well. So whatever it is, do get involved. We'd love to hear from you all. And without further ado, we're going to get on the conversations ourselves. We're talking football. We're talking mainly Liverpool, but there's also some rival stuff in there as well. So yeah, like I said, hope you all are doing great, people. We're going to get into the talking points. And we're going to start with Ibrahima Konate. Now, of course, the story goes, as we know, that Konate has entered into the final 12 months of his Liverpool contract. And although several months ago it was being discussed that things were moving in a somewhat positive direction, Konate was somewhat open to negotiating with Liverpool. Liverpool were open to negotiating with Konate. A deal was seemingly going to happen between both parties. It seems as though things have taken a bit of a twist and a turn in the past several months, to the point now where, according to the latest reports, Konate wants to leave. Konate wants to leave Liverpool at the end of his current contract. He doesn't want... He won't be forced into a move this summer. He is more than happy, seemingly, to run down the final year of his contract and then go on a free transfer away from Liverpool. And the reported clubs that are seemingly linked with him are Real Madrid, Barcelona, and PSG. Now, we've known about those links for a long, long time. They've been no secret in to obviously this story. We know that Real Madrid have been sniffing around Konate. We know that PSG have most certainly been sniffing around Konate. The Barcelona ones, I don't think are exactly new, but they have been there. Not maybe as strong as the PSG and Real Madrid links, but they've still been there. Look, I'm at least happy that we're not going to go through another year of will he sign a contract, won't he sign a contract. I am so bored of that conversation. Over the past year, dealing with it with Salah, dealing with it with Van Dijk, and of course dealing with it with Trent. I am so bored of that conversation. I am so bored of going through that entire fiasco again. So at least I'm sort of under the impression that there is no way of changing Konate's mind. He is going to be leaving at the end of 2026. If we can move him on this summer for a cut price deal, then great. But it does seem like he is going to run out the final year of his contract, and move on a free next season, which seems to be the growing trend, by the way. I mentioned this in the stream that I did yesterday. Players seem to be now on the kind of side of running down their final contract and then leaving on a free the following year. And it's somewhat understandable as to why. You get a big signing on fee no matter where you go. So it kind of makes sense in a way. Kind of makes sense for that to, of course, occur and happen. At least from the player's point of view. Is it exactly the most respectful thing to do? Well, at least Konate isn't leading the club on. That's all I could say on that one. If he's really, really, really not open to signing a new deal, at least he's came out in the final year before all of the talk can really snowball and gather momentum, and just said, look, this are my intentions. I don't really have an intention of signing on. The ball is now in your court. And that kind of falls back on the club a little bit, the way that obviously they've ran the club these past several years to get to this point again with another player that has been running down his contract. It's annoying, it's frustrating, but you can't force a player to move. We know that. We know that just saying, like, well, get rid of him then. Easier said than done. Because if the player doesn't want to leave at that time, you can't force him. If the club that he wants to go to doesn't come in for him until his contract runs out, you can't force the club into a negotiation war. It's easy. It's all easier said than done. Like I say, if it ain't going to be PSG, if it ain't going to be Barca, if it ain't going to be Real Madrid that come in for him this summer, they're going to obviously wait another year because time is on their side. And then Liverpool will have a player that doesn't want to be there. It's annoying and frustrating. You would hope that Konate would be the model professional, that he would go into this final year at least committed to playing out the remainder of his contract and being professional in that manner. But there's no way to suggest that he definitely will be. There's no way to suggest that Liverpool won't have contingency plans in place. Guehi obviously could be that, but let's face it, we've also just sold Jarell Quansah as well. So do we have someone waiting in the wings in the academy to step up in Quansah's place, or do we need to go out and get another centre-back in for at least a foreseeable future? That's going to be an interesting conversation to have later on down the line as well. It's a very intriguing scenario that, again, the club have dug themselves in a hole in, because, again, the way they've poorly managed the contract situations over the past several years, the way that obviously Salah, Trent, Van Dijk were in the final year of their contracts last year, the same way that we're now talking about the same scenario occurring with Ibrahima Konate this year. And if obviously things aren't too careful, we could be obviously looking at it with a couple of other players. I know Andy Robertson's entering into the final year of his deal, but let's face it, he's not a 25-year-old. I think Konate is 25. I'm sure Konate is 25. I want to say he's 25. 25, 26. Let me just have a look here. 26. My apologies. He is 26. Recently turned 26. Yeah. 26-year-old. He's not a 26-year-old. Andy Robertson is clearly past his use-by date at Liverpool. It's understandable as to why he may run down the final year of his contract. Not ideal, not great, but at the same time, considering we only got him for £8 million several years ago when we bought him, he's obviously gone on to have a fantastic career with Liverpool. gave his best years at Liverpool, was probably the best left back in the world at a given time. It's not the end of the world on that level, but for Konate, it is, because let's face it, if we're selling Jarell Quansah for about 30 odd million pounds, Konate's probably double that, right? At least, you would imagine. Konate should be probably at least double that, right? So we are missing out on a lot of money. And now that obviously this seemingly is legit, this seemingly is the reality of the situation, that Konate is ready to leave, but is also wanting to run down his contract, Liverpool aren't exactly in the strongest negotiating position, because teams know that Konate wants to leave. If we want to make some money off of this, or get some money out of this, should I say, and maybe not make some money out of this, but get some money out of this, we're going to, our negotiating position is now weak. We're going to need to take a very big cut price deal. I'm just not. I'm not exactly happy about this, but at least the only thing I can say is at least we know where we stand. That's the only thing I can say that is at least somewhat positive. At least we seemingly know where we stand on this. Spirit of LFC fans, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome along to the stream. Hey, Fletch, how are you? Also, how is your family, friends, and loved ones? We're all good, man. We're all good. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. With the new players and the new potential we have, we got to aim for the Premier League and Champions League, right? Like, comment, and you also go share and subscribe. You'll never walk alone. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate the comment, and really appreciate you being here for this very early stream this morning. I agree. I somewhat agree. I think that with everything that we've done so far in this transfer window, it makes us favourites for the Premier League, and probably makes us extremely strong contenders for other pieces of silverware as well. And, you know, if we can add the cherry on top of the cake, which would be a star-studded striker, we have to be looking at multiple pieces of silverware. We can't just be looking at one piece of silverware. As incredible as what like winning the Premier League or the Champions League would be as a solo act, I 100% agree with you that multiple trophies will need to be won. You can't be spending what we've spent so far this summer. You can't be addressing the areas that we've addressed so far this summer, and maybe even going above and beyond to push the boat out even more by signing even more players, and star-studded players at that, without having the ambition and the potential of winning multiple trophies. It doesn't need to be the Premier League and the Champions League. It can be one or the other, as well as winning an FA Cup, winning a League Cup. It has to be multiple trophies, and just building and building from there. We've had a fantastic summer transfer window so far. It's only June. We've still got a long way to go before the end of the transfer window, in which there does promise to be even more movement. We've still got players that can leave and be sold for big money. We then can take that money and we can use it on certain players to bring in and further reinforce and strengthen our squad. It's exciting times. These are the kind of transfer windows that, as Liverpool fans, we've been so crying out for these past several years. So it is exciting times, but obviously we've got to see how it translates from paper to the pitch. And it should obviously translate really, really well. And it should obviously transform the club really well. And we should go on and have a very, 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 very successful season, and beyond the next season indeed. So I 100% agree with you, my friend. Really lovely comment from you, as well as a talking point. So we might sell Tsimikas, Reece Williams, Calvin Ramsey, Gomez, Konate, Elliott, Morton, Chiesa, Nunes, Jota, and Diaz, right? We've got to get Guehi, Edison, and Isak. We need to bed in our new players. You'll never walk alone. Tsimikas, definitely. He's been bumped down to third choice left back, so it only makes sense for us to get rid of Tsimikas. Reece Williams, of course. I forget he's actually still at the club, to be honest with you. We probably should have cashed in on him when he had that amazing season where he had to obviously be thrown into the deep end a little bit with all our centre-back issues. Calvin Ramsey just didn't materialise into anything proper for him. He could probably go back to Scotland, in all honesty. Joe Gomez, as much as I'd like to keep Joe Gomez for his utility, and of course the fact that he's homegrown as well, and of course I would love to see him finally score a Liverpool goal, I kind of agree, because I feel like we can get something out of him with him only still being like 27, 28 years of age. And as well as that, I think like English tax on top of that may actually give us a decent price for him. And I think for the benefit of Joe Gomez himself, like I think a move away from Liverpool might actually benefit him. Konate, as we've mentioned, it makes sense to sell him this summer, but we're not exactly in a strong negotiating position as of right now. And plus, Konate doesn't seem in any hurry to find a club that wants to take him right now. If something was to happen to any of the other clubs, though, it might strengthen our position a little bit to maybe move him on this summer rather than let him leave on a free next year. But yeah, I agree. Harvey Elliott is completely killing it in the under-21s Euros right now. I like him. I would love to see him stay, but at the same time, I get that for the benefit of Elliott's career long-term, he may need a move away. Morton, the same. Chiesa, again, would love to have seen more of him, but again, I understand if he is to leave. Nunez, 100% gone. I think Napoli, I think that deal is going to materialise. So I think that is going to go through at some stage in the summer. Nunez's career is at Liverpool is over. Jota, it depends on what happens with the striker situation for Jota. If we do get rid of Jota, we'll have no recognised strikers. And although Jota can fetch a nice price, and although he is injury prone, which, doesn't help, again, I think it does just depend on what our striker situation is looking like going into August or even the middle of July, as far as what Jota's Liverpool future is concerned. Diaz, I say we should get rid of him. I say we should sell him. But again, it's not that easy, especially when you consider that the Saudi links have somewhat died down. It does seem like Barcelona are going to be going after Nico Williams, which kind of puts to rest the sort of Luis Diaz links, in my opinion. Can't see them going for both, in all honesty. So, yeah, it is intriguing to know what's happening with Luis Diaz right now, especially because it seems that things have taken a bit of a sour turn between himself and the club. And as far as what incomings go, Guehi is definitely someone that I think we should go after. Ederson, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it whatsoever. For Ederson, and of course Isak would be the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, in my opinion. Isak would be phenomenal. Like I say, I talked about Gyökeres yesterday in a live stream. I think that would be incredible as well. So either one of them two, in my opinion, would be the right way to go, but we definitely need to look at that striker situation. That's the one area where I think, okay, we've addressed the other areas that needed to be addressed. Striker situation now needs to be looked at. Then the centre-backs. And then I think we could probably go into the season looking very, very strong indeed and reinforced in all areas. But again, great comment, mate. Great comment. Love that. And I love all the talking points as well. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about the situation with not just Liverpool's striker situation, but with Liverpool's sales situation. Who do you think we're in a good position to sell? Who do you think we're not so in a good position to sell? But who do you think may fetch Liverpool the most amount of money this summer? Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about Liverpool's summer sales this year. So yes, Konate does look like he is on his way out of Liverpool, but whether or not it's going to be this summer or next summer remains to be seen. It's going to be very intriguing to find out what is going to happen with the with the centre back, and obviously what the contingency plan in place is. It does appear though that part of that contingency plan is a certain Marc Guehi. A certain Marc Guehi of Crystal Palace. Now, of course, we did talk about this last week, and it seems as though things are continuing to develop here. It does seem like Guehi is potentially on the cusp of becoming a Liverpool player. According to Dave O.C. Kopp yesterday, he says, exclusive news, Liverpool are closing in on a deal to sign Marc Guehi from Crystal Palace. Guehi has just 1 year left on his current deal at Palace. Liverpool have held discussions over recent months with Guehi's representatives, as revealed exclusively in March. Now we know that Guehi is no stranger to speculation. We know that there has been a lot of speculation surrounding Marc Guehi. Liverpool aren't the only ones that are interested. However, the recent reports are all seemingly linking Guehi with a move to Liverpool. Now, whether or not someone will come in at the 11th hour, put in a bid that may shake things up a little bit, who knows? But we do know that last year, Guehi was said to be close to moving to Newcastle. Ultimately, things broke down. We know that Guehi's been attracting interest from the likes of Arsenal, from the likes of, other top English and European clubs. And like I say, with 1 year left on his current deal, Crystal Palace aren't exactly in a strong negotiating position. We also know that Guehi is seemingly very happy to run down that final year of his current contract with the club and leave on a free next season. A massive contrast to last year, where Palace was said to be looking for somewhere in the region of 75 to 80 million, which again is another example of players that are more than happy to run down their current deals for signing bonuses or to tip the scales in their favour of a move away from the club, without doing it, too disrespectfully, I guess you could say. In my opinion, this is a no-brainer for Liverpool. An absolute no-brainer whatsoever. Guehi has been a fantastic defender for Palace over the past few years. He's been ever so consistent, solid as a rock, and has developed so much as a man and as a leader and as a defender. He obviously is captained the Crystal Palace side, so his leadership skills have grown, which will be fantastic to have alongside Virgil van Dijk, for example. He may be a more naturally left-sided centre-back, which of course is currently occupied by Van Dijk, but it's not to say that obviously it can't work, that Guehi and Van Dijk be the partnership. And of course, with him only being currently 24 years of age, there's no reason to suggest that Guehi can't then take over Van Dijk within the next, or past the next couple of years or so that, of course, we've signed Van Dijk on with. It just makes sense to me. This just makes so much sense to me. 40 to 50 million pounds is somewhere in the region that I think we can get this deal done for. It makes so much sense to me. A Premier League proven defender, lots of experience, broke through to the England national team these past several years, has probably been the best England defender, or at least centre-back, for the past few years, I would say. ever so consistent, solid, strong, all of these fantastic attributes. He's not exactly slow either. He's good with the ball at his feet as well, provides a fair few options with him in the team as well, and is versatile enough that he can obviously change and be fluid enough to morph into different positions, different places within the starting 11, different and obviously when on the pitch in transforming to attack to defense to attack, a solid aerial presence as well. It just makes sense to me. I can't speak highly of this potential transfer. This just makes so much sense to me. And I'm so not used to this because I'm so not used to Liverpool, A, making extremely smart transfer decisions, or B, making extremely smart transfer decisions as frequently as what they are currently doing right now in one single transfer window. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And I'm so excited about the prospect of this. Guehi, for me, it makes sense. It makes sense. Guehi makes so much sense. For all of the qualities that I've talked about, for all of the ability that he has, for everything that he possesses in terms of a wealth of experience while still only being 24 years of age. It just ticks every single box for me. And on top of that as well, our homegrown quota will obviously need a bit of beefing up as well. And of course, he ticks that box to a T. So I can't think of anything bad to say about the potential of this transfer. It just makes so much sense to me, and the potential and possibility that he has, that he possesses. He is it. He is it, in my opinion. Like, this is just the way that I think it is, the way I think it goes. I honestly, I can't speak highly of this potential transfer. For me, Marc Guehi is the way to go. And I'm hoping and praying that we soon get the here we go from Romano. I'm hoping that we get the Ornstein Bomber. I'm hoping we get all of that good stuff in regards to Marc Guehi going forward, because we do need to look at our centre-back options, especially with the Konate news that is obviously floating around out there right now. For me, Guehi is a complete upgrade on Kwanzaa. Wouldn't say right now he's a complete upgrade on Konate. I think they are on a somewhat similar sort of level. I think maybe they have different attributes that can outcompete with one another. But there's no doubt in my mind that Guehi can excel. And the way that Guehi can excel is by putting himself in this Liverpool team and, of course, winning silverware. And if he is to do that, then I have no doubt that his ever-presence in the team, that his work rate, that his desire, and everything else that goes along with that, he will be it. He will be not just the partner to Virgil van Dijk in the next 2 years, but going beyond the next 2 years, he will probably be the successor to Virgil van Dijk as well, in the heart of that Liverpool defence. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Of course, you could maybe argue that in a couple of years' time, there may be some other defenders that obviously may become apparent, may reach their potential, may, break through onto the senior level. But for the here and now, Marc Guehi is, in my opinion, with the potential, the ceiling he has, and all of that good stuff, he's up there, man. He's up there. And I am really, really liking the possibility of this potential transfer. Let me know what you guys think about Marc Guehi in the chat, people. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about the potential of this move, whether you rate like a rating, I would say, out of 10 as to how likely Guehi will move, or how much of a success he will be. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about the potential of Marc Guehi jumping ship from Crystal Palace to Liverpool this summer. Future leadership roles, his continued development is essential to our squad success. Absolutely. He is someone that is ready to go for the here and now, but still has several years of development ahead of him in which he can get better. I mean, look, we've just signed Jeremy Frimpong as well, who is the same age as Marc Guehi. Like, this is what we do at Liverpool. We sign players like this because, let's face it, if we sign him good and we actually work on our transfer and contract strategy so that we're not running down players' contracts and then panicking when they enter the final 12 months. Let's say that we sign Guehi to a long-term contract and then we sign him to another one about 4-5 years down the line. As a 27, 28, 29-year-old defender, he could be unbelievable. And then Liverpool have the opportunity, don't they? They have the opportunity to either maximize him for the long term, or we could cash in on him. A Real Madrid comes in with like £100 million bid or something. I'm just throwing it out there as a hypothetical. I'm not saying it would genuinely happen. I'm just saying it could potentially happen. As a 27, 28, 29-year-old, if Guehi continues on the projection that he's on, that could be some sort of possibility in the future. And Liverpool will then have a big decision to make. Do they cash in on him then and maybe use that money to redevelop, rebuild, strengthen the squad, reinforce the squad? Or do they decide to keep him and maximize Marc Guehi for all that he is and all that he has? That's going to be the interesting thing later on down the line. Should, of course, Guehi's projection and development continue to rise in the fashion that it is currently building at. Marc Guehi is currently 24 years of age and areas to improve for the future. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, my friend. Couldn't agree more. Fletch, as an expert you are, I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but I am in no way an expert. Developing there. I would say that. No, I'm joking. I possess a professional demeanour, extensive education, and comprehensive knowledge regarding Liverpool Football Club. Fair play to you, my friend. Fair play to you. Like I say, I'm enjoying some of the things you're putting in the chat. So yeah, I'd love to know more. I'd love to see more of that, my friend. So yeah, love that, bro. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, if that's genuine and all that, like, I would genuinely love to pick your brain more. So yeah, I love that. Love that. I'm not an expert, genuinely not. I'm just a guy who rambles a lot. Just a guy who rambles a lot. And sometimes some of it will stick, and sometimes it will absolutely fall on deaf ears. But it's fun. I enjoy it, so it's cool. But yeah, love to like pick your brain some more, my friend. Love to pick your brain some more. Where did we get to? So we talk Konate, we talk Guehi. Fingers crossed the Guehi stuff does happen. Would love it if it did. I think it just makes so much sense. It just makes so much sense, Marc Guehi to Liverpool. Really, really does. I can't say anything more than that. It just makes so much sense. Next, we're going to come on to Luis Diaz's future. Luis Diaz. The talk right now is that he may be considering his options even more so than what he was before. There was talk that allegedly Liverpool were looking at renewing his contract. I said last year we should have got rid of him. Of course, he went on to have a very good season by his standards this past campaign. But I still think his time has come at Liverpool, and I still think he is now past his use-by date, and I think we should look at moving him on. However, it does seem like Liverpool are open to both keeping him and getting rid of him at the same time. And of course, his contract situation is certainly not exactly in the strongest position. His contract expires in 2027, which means we've got a good couple of years of Luis Diaz ahead of us. But of course, again, if things continue to spiral, if things continue to sour between relations between him and the club, we could end up risking losing him out on a free. Now, previously, we have known about Diaz being linked with a move away from Liverpool. Saudi Arabian clubs have seemingly been monitoring the Luis Diaz situation. Those links have seemingly cooled in recent times. And we know that Barcelona have also held interest in him, but it does seem like they are pursuing Nico Williams. But if for whatever reason the Nico Williams stuff falls through, which it doesn't seem like it is going to, but it potentially could, then he's not going to be moving there either. The Diaz stuff is very intriguing. And again, I'm very intrigued to know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this Luis Diaz situation. The stuff with Diaz, like I say, if he's happy being a squad player, rotated, second fiddle though to Gakpo for the most part, maybe keeping him one more year isn't exactly the worst decision the club will make. I, however, think that if we can get a good enough fee for Diaz, we 100% should snap the hand off of whoever's giving us that good fee. And reinvesting that in a left winger elsewhere. An Anthony Gordon, maybe, perhaps. Maybe we reignite that transfer saga. Just out off the top of my head. For me, Luis Diaz is not going to improve on what he is right now, which is an inconsistent player who frustrates the living hell out of me, because I know that he's got good technical ability. I know he's decent with the ball at his feet, but Jesus Christ, the amount of times that I've been left frustrated by this guy over the past couple of years or so has been so many, just so many times where I've looked at him and gone, why did you shoot? Why didn't you shoot? Why did you pass there? Why didn't you pass earlier? Why did you try and take him on when the way to pass was the way to go? Why didn't you take him on? Why didn't you run at him? Why didn't you try a trick or two? Just his decision making at times can just be so left to be desired. But with his current age, he's not going to improve. He's not going to get any better, in my opinion. And we can take him and we can morph him into being a false number 9. But at the end of the day, he can do a job there, but it's not exactly sustainable in that aspect. So, again, it's a question of, do you keep him just as an option, or do you try and get rid to cash in on him while you have the opportunity to do so? In my opinion, he is past his use-by date. But looking at what we are, looking at what we have right now, and looking at where we need to improve, the striker options are obviously bleak. The centre-back options are somewhat dwindling. at least on the left wing, even if you do take Diaz out of the equation, we do have Florian Wirtz. We do have Wirtz that can obviously play that sort of position and role, slightly makeshift, but he is very much capable of being versatile enough to morph into that position. Selling Diaz wouldn't be the end of the world and not getting a replacement. You can put Gakpo there. Like I say, Wirtz can go there. Hell, even Szoboszlai can go there. I think he does play that sort of role for his country. So it's not the realms of possibility that Szoboszlai could be morphed into that role as well. But it's a question of, will he go? Will he leave? It's a very intriguing toss of a coin right now. And, you know, I know that Bayern have also been rumoured to be interested in him, but talks have seemingly died pretty quickly there. The Diaz situation does intrigue me. I feel like we should be in the market trying to sell him. But at the same time, like I say, keeping him for at least one more year, I wouldn't be completely against, given how our transfer window's gone so far, given how we are looking right now, given how strong we are looking in certain areas right now. But if the opportunity does present itself, we need to grasp it with both hands, because, like I say, that striker situation for me is the one, not necessarily worry for me, but it is sort of a slight concern, shall we say, that I think we're going to be left a little light up top if Gyökeres isn't coming, Isak's not going, and, you know, I think we will address it, but I'm not necessarily sure who that will be. Isak and Gyökeres would be my first two choices. Osimhen behind them. Ekitike lower down the list. There may be one or two other strikers there that maybe you could consider as well. But the striker situation is just leaving me a little bit of cause for concern. And I don't think morphing Diaz more so down the middle is going to help that. Which is why we should maybe put the call into Saudi and be like, you still want Diaz? All right. I'm just saying. I'm intrigued to know what you guys think. Like, I think the Luis Diaz situation does split certain Liverpool fans down the middle a little bit. I think more people may be somewhat on the side of selling him, but I'm intrigued to know what you guys are thinking and feeling in the chat. Is Diaz a player that you would want to see leave? Would you mind him staying at least one more year? Consider as well, he's got 2 years left on his current deal with the club. So does that basically change your thoughts and feelings at all on him? I'm intrigued to know, because, like I say, the Diaz situation is certainly something that is very intriguing to see unfold. And as well as that, it's a situation which, according to certain reports, may just be turning a little toxic. Depending on who you read, depending on who you believe, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to know. Because for me, I am somewhat leaning more towards getting rid. But again, keeping him for one more year, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Wouldn't be amazing. Wouldn't be something that I sing and dance about. But it is certainly something that I think is slightly worth considering, in all honesty. Not 100% sure on that one. Not 100% sure. I've been leaning more towards getting rid. Luis Diaz, eh? Luis Diaz, eh? Remember to like the video, guys. Remember to subscribe if you're new and all of that good stuff. And obviously get involved in the chat. Would love to hear what you have to say. Like I say, all of your support is greatly appreciated. Never be taken for granted. You guys are absolutely awesome. So please feel free to do their good stuff. Steve, you'll never walk alone. Welcome to the show, my friend. Hope you are well. Welcome along to the live stream. Only fools believe the Konate rumours. Club, his agent, still in ongoing talks to extend his deal. Like I say, but I can only talk about what is being put out there, and it did actually come from somewhat of a credible source, I believe. I think it mainly came from. Let me just remember. I can never remember his name. It's Santi Auna. Auna. Now I get it. He is a Spanish journalist, and of course, you know, Real Madrid like to plant some things in the Spanish media. So I 100% get your take, and I 100% get that you could argue that this is just a Real Madrid plant. This is all mind games. This is all that kind of stuff. This is what they did with Trent, that kind of thing. But it, you know, something has definitely happened, and you'd be foolish to think that it hasn't. Several months ago, it did seem like it was very likely that Konate would sign a new deal. Months have gone on, and it's been dragging and dragging and dragging and dragging. And I don't necessarily see it as being, you know, because we've had the season that we've had. We've signed Salah in that time. We've signed other players in that time. Not just players that were on their final year, by the way. But and as well as that, we've obviously done a lot of transfer business as well. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if we've got another sort of Trent situation on our hands here. Diaz deserves at least 150k. FSG love playing some of our best players low market value wages for years. That's the FSG model. We get them at a young age, we put them on a wage, and we give them like incentives to go and like say, you want to earn the big money, go and win for us. Problem is that I think Diaz has just passed his use by date, so I'm not entirely on board with the whole Diaz situation, in all honesty. Like I said, I wouldn't be against keeping him on for another year, but at the same time, I'm so not fully on board with Luis Diaz, to be honest with you. How long did it take? I get the Salah and Van Dijk thing. The problem with Salah and Van Dijk was, I think, their age. That was the problem. At least with Konate being 26, you can kind of get like why it probably should have been wrapped up a lot sooner than what it had been. With Van Dijk and Salah, I think the age range was sort of saying they could fall off at any moment, but then they continue to perform. They continue to be the best players in the Premier League, and eventually they had to give in. Liverpool had to give in and give them what they wanted. With Konate, it's a little bit different because obviously he's a lot younger. And like I say, if we're selling Jarell Kwanzaa for 30 odd million, we should be selling Konate for double that amount. That's just my opinion. Has Konate openly said he wants to leave? Lazy journalism is what our stupid fans get sucked in by. Like I say, we can only just report on what's being out there and talk about the speculation. Otherwise, there's no point in doing any of this. But I do get what you mean. In an ideal world, I would love for Konate to stay. And in even more of an ideal world, I would love it if his injury issues was definitely a thing of the past. However, it's just that pesky fly flying around, isn't it? The pesky fly known as Real Madrid that keeps on coming back every so often to take these players. That's the annoying thing about this, is that, if it wasn't Real Madrid, I would be on board with what you're saying. I would be like, oh, well, it's just PSG. It's just Bayern Munich. It's just Barcelona. Like, maybe there is some element of like, oh, it's just lazy journalism and all of that stuff. But again, it's Real Madrid. It's just that pesky wasp that will not leave Liverpool alone. And they're going to keep on coming back. And they're going to keep on coming back because I guarantee you we'll be in this situation again in 12 months' time about another player. Maybe they'll come back for Alexis McAllister next year. Maybe they'll go after, I don't know, maybe a Soboslai or something. Maybe they'll go after anyone. It's just, I hate Real Madrid so much for what they've done to us, not just in the Champions League, but for obviously what has been going on these past few years with them coming back after our players. And like I say, I want to agree with you about the whole lazy journalism narrative. And to an extent, I think you could potentially be right. However, I think it does carry some weight because I think the guy who broke this news, the guy who said that Konate wants to leave, I think is somewhat more credible than most. I'm not saying he completely gets everything right. No one gets everything right. Even the god top tier ones of your Ornsteins and Romanos get stuff wrong. And again, on previous streams, I've gone into a rant about that. However, with it being Madrid involved, I do think, as much as I hate it, there is some sort of truth behind it. And I don't want there to be, but I think that there could be. Diaz on 55k and Chiesa on 140. If you was Diaz, would you not be pissed? I can't imagine he's on 55k, bro. I cannot imagine he is on 55k. I don't know what your source is for that, but I can't imagine he is on that low of a wage when you consider that others are on a lot more than that. He is probably on, at the very least, 110 maybe. I can't imagine he's on 55. What is the cheaper option for FSG, to keep him or sell him? Cheaper option probably would be to keep him. That would probably be the cheaper option. But again, it's not just down to what the club want. It's about what Konate wants as well. Like, it's not just FIFA. This is like not a game of FIFA or Football Manager. Like, if he wants to leave, he wants to leave. He's got one more year left on his contract, and he knows that, as well as obviously running down his contract, if he was to leave on a free next season, he gets a pretty decent signing on fee. So the negotiating position of Liverpool is made so much weaker if this story is to be believed. And of course, the longer it drags out, it makes Liverpool even more weaker because of what we saw last year with Trent. That's going to sting for a long time, a longer time than what we imagined. FSG offer Konate transfer value wages. He signs within 24 hours. He deserves 180k compared to other defenders. Again, you could be right. Again, you could be right, but maybe for him it's not down to the money. Maybe it could be a personal thing, a family thing, or it could be just a preference. It could just be a preference. Look at the way that Trent left. Allegedly, we made offers to Trent that exceeded what he was going to earn at Real Madrid, and yet he still wanted to go to Madrid. Allegedly, reportedly. So it's not always just down to a money thing. It's FSG's fault why they allow our best players to run down their deals. This allows Madrid to come in and get our best players for nothing. We said this earlier, mate. We said this earlier that the club has been poorly managed for the past several years, which is why our players have run down their contracts to the point where we were really, really racing against time to obviously re-sign them to new deals. The Trent thing, I think the more that you hear about this kind of stories that are coming out about it, the more you think maybe he did plan it. Maybe this was planned a long time in the pipeline for years. Obviously, Van Dijk and Salah's a different story. That was just poorly managed. But yeah, on that kind of stuff, it's just poor management from the club. Best information, I believe, is what comes out of the club directory. I mean, yeah, that's the official kind of stuff, but we'd all be out of a job if we were just waiting on that, because no one would say anything until it's done. The speculation side's exciting. We haven't had this for a while, the exciting stuff on players incoming. Not necessarily players outgoing, but still, it has to be talked about. You don't know Diaz is not on 55k. Even Stevie Wonder knows this. I just highly doubt it. I highly doubt he's on 55k a week. A 28-year-old winger in Diaz's position is most certainly not on 55k a week. And if you can prove it to me, right, I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But I highly, highly doubt it's 55k a week. I'm just saying, like, if I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands. I've no problem with being wrong. I just refuse to believe he is on that low of a wage. Offer Konate 200k. If he refuses, sell him. If he refuses to be sold, put him in the under 23s and let him rot there for a season. Yeah. I mean, it's a risky move from Liverpool if they don't want to put him on 200k a week. But at the same time, I can somewhat understand where you're coming from. It could obviously then be like, it could then really throw the ball in Konate's court, because, in a year's time, things might move on a little bit. Konate might not develop. Konate might rot in the under 23s, like you say, and Real Madrid might overlook him and go to someone else. Yeah, it very much could happen, my friend. I agree. Marco, how are you doing, bro? Lovely to see you, my friend. Welcome along to the stream. Madueke to Arsenal would be funny. Yeah, I did a video on that on Monday about Madueke. And I basically said that he's not exactly a terrible player, but I just don't necessarily think that he's the kind of player that Arsenal should be looking for, especially with the money that's being talked about. If they could get him for like 15, 20, maybe 25 million at a push, I don't think it would necessarily be the worst signing that Arsenal could make. But at the same time, I have to agree that it's a strange one. It is a strange one from an Arsenal perspective. Every player at Liverpool who has 2 years left on their current deal, clubs should offer new deals. If they refuse new deal, sell them. Ain't rocket science. But again, it's not as simple as just saying sell them, because the player has to want to leave as well, and the player will have to want to leave to the clubs that come in for him. It's not just about. It's not, like I say, it's not FIFA. It's not FIFA career mode where every player is seemingly open to going anywhere. It's not Football Manager where, as a Football Manager player myself, I've had issues where players have come to me and gone, I want to leave because I'm homesick, only for them to go somewhere where it's not where they're from, which was strange. So players do need to leave. I agree. But getting players to leave is easier said than done. And especially if they've got 2 years left on their current contracts, because some players may not be motivated by football. Some players may be motivated by money. And if that's the case, they could look at it and go, yeah, I could sign a new 200k deal here. But if I leave it another year, pick up my paycheck here, and then I go to a Real Madrid, for example, in a year's time, not only will I pick up about the same wage there, but I'll also pick up a nice signing bonus on the way. And because it's Real Madrid, that's going to offer a lot more opportunities for me to pick up more sponsorship and brand deals and more money. So maybe in the long run, it may be more beneficial financially to the player to give it another year or two. It's a risk. It is a risk. Like I say, a lot can happen in football in 12 months. But at the same time, it's not just as easy and as simple as what you're making it out, I'm afraid. I wish it was. I wish it was that simple, but it isn't necessarily. Certain people in the city of Liverpool know in the summer of 2023 and was leaving in 2025. Like I say, man, it's just something that seemingly is developing, and it's not just Liverpool. It's not just Liverpool, but there are other players out there that are doing the same thing. Nat Phillips was on more than Diaz. Now that I find hard to believe. There's absolutely no way that Nat Phillips was on more than Luis Diaz. Again, if you can find me your source of information, bro, and if it is credible and if it's legit, then I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But I am refusing to believe that Nat Phillips, a backup to the defence of Liverpool Football Club, was on more than on the first teamer, the starting left winger for the past few years until Cody Gakpo kind of rivaled him, of Luis Diaz. I just find that extremely hard to believe, my friend. Arsenal need a striker, and Arteta looking to sign more defenders. Arteta has a fetish for defenders. Arsenal banter FC keeps giving. Absolutely, but you know what? If they do go on and sign Gyökeres, then that is a fantastic signing for Arsenal and a little bit worrying for us. If they get Sesko, though, who cares? Who cares? Why don't you rate Sesko at all? Okay, let me clarify. I don't think he is a terrible player, right? I just think Benjamin Sesko is not what Arsenal need. He's not what Liverpool need. He is a 21-year-old project player. Neither team need kind of project players right now. They're in positions where they need the ready-made players of the here and now to go and win them trophies. He is not a good fit for either Arsenal or Liverpool right now. Also, I'm not going to say I'm a religious fan of the Bundesliga. I'm not going to say I'm a religious fan of RB Leipzig. But I do watch every so often the occasional game of Leipzig, of the Bundesliga. And from what I've seen of Sesko is that he is overrated. I have seen that although he does have certain decent qualities, he is not of the kind of player that either team need, either team want. And especially from a Liverpool perspective, who has just had spent the last 3 years watching Darwin Núñez just so frustratingly play football. And every single time that you kind of go, oh, maybe this is his turning point, it never quite materializes for him. That's, in my opinion, Sesko down to a T. In my opinion, Sesko is not that much better than Kai Havertz. He's very similar to Kai Havertz, in my opinion. Why you would go for a like-for-like kind of move, I don't know. He's not that much better than Kai Havertz. He is better, but he's not by that much better. And in my opinion, he is just the Slovenian Darwin Núñez. And that's my comparisons to him. Because when he shoots, he just tries to lace it. There's no real thought process. There's no real kind of technique to it. There's no real sort of plan of like putting it round the goalkeeper. It's just absolutely fire it at 100 miles an hour. I just don't see it with Sesko. I just don't see it. I'm not saying he can't turn into something and he can't work in any kind of team. I said yesterday that, in my opinion, maybe Man United should be looking at maybe a Sesko to work well with like Cunha and Mbeumo. I feel like that could work, but I just don't think it would work. And especially with United on the project as well of punching upwards rather than punching downwards like what Liverpool and Arsenal are currently doing. I feel like a project player would work better for a United than it would for either of those two teams. I just don't think Sesko is worth it. I think he's slightly overrated. But I could be proven wrong. But I don't think I am. When players are signed, you put clauses in their deals that say last 2 years left, they will extend or be sold. Again, easier said than done. Sometimes they may not want that. United always do it. You know, United always put a contract extension when they get to the final year of their deal, just in case things go badly. But again, some players may not want that. It's not exactly a foregone conclusion, but I understand where you're coming from. Arsenal banter FC can sign Mbappe, Isaac, Alvarez, and still not win major trophies. Why? The problem is their manager, not squad. I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B. I don't necessarily think it's all their squad, but I don't necessarily think it's all their manager either. Sesko to Banter FC, Arsenal for over 70 million. Boom. I'd rather them take Sesko than I'd so much rather they take Sesko than Gyökeres. I am 100% on board with that. Fingers crossed that they do. I feel like if they do sign Gyökeres, it's a bit more scary than them signing Sesko. So I hope you're right. Welcome along, LFC. Hope you are well, my friend. You just say simply that no player is bigger than the club. 100%. I absolutely agree with you on that one. Man United looking to spend over 120 million on 2 new attackers. They love overpaying on players. That club gets ripped off again and again. I mean, you can maybe see it that way if you don't necessarily rate the players that they're buying. I hope it doesn't work out for them, but Cunha is a decent signing, and Mbeumo, if they get him, is a very good signing. They obviously still need to work on some of the other areas of their squad, mainly the striker and the goalkeeper at opposite ends of the pitch. But because of the current position that they're in, they may, in your opinion, have to overspend a little bit. If they are successful, no one mentions the money. That's the thing. No one mentions the money. You know, if Wirtz goes on to have a bit of an awkward season, maybe his goal contributions aren't exactly to where everybody wants them to be, everybody's going to be talking about the price tag. If Wirtz goes on to have an unbelievable season, no one talks about the price tag. No one will talk about it if he has an unbelievable one. It's just the way that obviously modern day football and fandom and banter kind of works. Harvey Elliott is playing really well in the under-21s team. Yeah, he's absolutely ripping it up in that tournament, isn't he? His celebration was poor. He messed up his knee a little bit. Hopefully he's okay though. But yeah, he's absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it right now. Like I said, I really like Elliott, and I kind of hope on a level that he stays. But I think for the way that he for the way that obviously he wants to progress as a footballer, and obviously with him now breaking into the senior squad level of the national team, it might just be for the betterment of his career that he actually does move on. Unfortunately for us. Bring Alvarez or Isak. Plan B, Osimhen or Vlahovic to Liverpool. I agree with Alvarez or Isaac. I somewhat agree with Osimhen. The only thing I have against Osimhen is that he may demand too much money. It may be too much money. I'm not sold on Vlahovic either. Not completely anyway. I'd be sold more on him than Sesko, but I'm not completely sold on Vlahovic, to be honest with you. Who's to start selling Deadwood now is Robbo, Tsimikas, Gomez, Elliott, Morton, Nunes, Jota, Chiesa before new players come in next month. Yeah, I mean, there are several names there that Spirit of LFC fans said earlier. Some I agree with. Some I definitely do agree with. I think Tsimikas is definitely gone. Robbo, maybe. Again, he could run down the final year of his contract and leave on a free next year, and I wouldn't be completely mad with that. Gomez, I think, again, for maybe his evolution in the game, and obviously for the betterment of his career, may want to leave. Elliott, the same. Morton, the same. Nunes' time is over at Liverpool. Jota, depending on our striker situation, he might not exactly be bad depth to have in that kind of position. And Chiesa as well. Again, maybe for depth, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but it does seem clear that Arne Slot doesn't really rate him, even though he bought him last season. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with Chiesa, but yeah, there are some players there that we definitely need to move on, whether they're not in Arne Slot's plans or just past their use-by date. Wirtz is going to cook in the Premier League in the EPL. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is going to be a solid prediction, and I'm pretty sure that will happen as well, my friend. Any club offers more than 30 million for Elliott selling? I think we can get a bit more for that. I think anywhere from 40 to 55. 40 to 55. I think we can. I think anywhere in that region, I think we could probably do well with. And I think he'd do well wherever he goes. You know, I think at least if we're talking mainly Premier League teams, I think outside of maybe City and Arsenal, I think every Premier League team should be looking at maybe trying to sign Harvey Elliott this summer. Obviously, not Everton or United because, you know, rivalries. But any team outside of them 2/4, I think should be looking at signing Harvey Elliott. I think he could do a really good job for any one of those teams. I think he could flourish at like a Newcastle. I think a Nottingham Forest, he'd be perfect. I think he would be really, really good no matter where he goes next season. If they sell Harvey Elliott this summer, buyback clause needed to be included in the deal. Well, we did it with Joe Kwanzaa, didn't we? We've done it with Kwanzaa. That won't be active for another couple of years, but when it does become active, it's somewhere in like 50, 51 million that the buyback clause will be available for. So yes, I agree. I agree that a buyback option, or at least a sell-on clause, will not be a bad inclusion in the deal, in all honesty. Elliott, Nunez, Jota are perfect for these teams, i.e. Spurs, Brentford, Forest, Fulham, Villa, etc. Elliott would love those teams because he would get space and he would get, obviously, the opportunity to just keep putting balls in behind teams that are not going to sit back and defend. We've seen how creative he can be. I think he'd flourish in any one of them environments. Nunez, again, with a team against a team that won't sit back, Nunez will get chances because his pace is just blistering. His pace is electric. So he will get chances for those teams. Jota, not exactly blessed with pace, more blessed with movement. But I guess going back to Wolves, something like that, maybe. But I can see where you're coming from. If Kwanzaa fulfills his potential, he comes back to Liverpool in 2027 to replace Van Dijk. That's why we got the buyback clause. Just in case he actually does. I don't know. Something again happened with Kwanzaa this year as well. I don't think he kicked on in the way that Liverpool and FSG were hoping for, which is why they decided to cash in on him whilst they had the opportunity to do so. But they obviously have the buyback clause in there just in case, of course, that his time in Germany is going to flourish. So we shall see. Costas or Robbo, who do you think will stay this summer? I think Robertson will stay. I know he's been linked with Atletico, but I think the likelihood is that Robertson stays. He sees out the final year of his current deal. He gets a proper send-off at the end of it. And then and then he goes on and signs for whoever next year, whether it be a trip abroad, whether it be, maybe even going back to Scotland, maybe, whatever it may be. I'm sure for Robertson, it will be something that is a nice way to sort of round out his career, his footballing career. So Robbo and Tsimikas both need replacing. I agree, both need replacing. I'm just thinking along the lines of, we have other areas to strengthen. I'm not sure how the money aspect is going to play a part in it. And let's face it, keeping Robbo isn't exactly the worst thing. His experience, his know-how, his leadership on and off the pitch will be useful. And especially for the final year of his deal, one more year, I don't think will necessarily hurt us. And when you consider that Kirkes is 21 years of age, to slowly bleed him into the side and have Robertson there to sort of mentor him for a year, I don't think it's going to be a bad option to have. So I don't necessarily. As much as in an ideal world, yes, sell Robertson. In an ideal world, sell Robertson and bring in another left back. But it's not always that simple or is that easy. I don't think he can replace Virgil because up till now, don't think we have a Virgil replacement in the squad. To be honest, yeah, I agree with that. I think Guehi could. Otherwise, you are potentially looking at maybe signing someone later on down the line. after the 2 years are up with Van Dijk, maybe then you're maybe looking at the market and going, right, who's the next footballer to take his place? I mean, Bastoni will be 28 in a couple of years' time. So that could be a possibility if he's still going strong at Inter or wherever he'll be playing his football by then. That could be a possibility. But yeah, you could look at the market in a couple of years' time, or you could look at who you've got in your development squad coming up. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Sell Robbo, Simicast, and bring in Hato as cover for Kirkez. I get the versatility side of Hato. I haven't seen enough of him to say otherwise whether or not he's worth it or not. But I'll have to take your word for that one. Frimpong, Kirkez, Wirtz signed. Give me Ederson and a killer striker and Arnie starting 11. We'll spit roast teams specifically at Anfield. It's been a fantastic summer so far, and fingers crossed it will happen. It will continue. Fingers crossed it will continue. And like you say, like a killer striker is definitely needed. Killer striker is most definitely needed. I'm gonna have to call it there. We didn't really get round to talking Eze to Arsenal, which is quite a shame. So I might put that in a video later on, but I've got to kind of call it there. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun talking to you all. Really enjoyed this once again. Arnie T needed DM. I think cover for Gravenberch, definitely. Cover for Gravenberch is definitely needed. So I get where you're coming from there. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a top priority. Centre-back and striker is definitely needed more. But if there is a bit of money left over, then maybe a DM could be in the wings. But I don't necessarily think that's a priority for this season. I think that's more of so a priority maybe for next year when things move on. Eze to join Spurs, Arsenal fans will be crying. They will be, but I would also demand that Eze has his head testing if he is really choosing Spurs over Arsenal. Either that or maybe Daniel Levy has got his family hostage or something. Like, I don't know why you choose Spurs over Arsenal, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think if this does materialise, Eze will be joining Arsenal, but like I said, that may be for a video for later on in the day or tomorrow. We shall see. Ederson, please. Which of the Edersons you talked about? He's not like, yeah, as he goes on to say, it's Ederson Matalanta, the DM. Right, I'm going to have to call it there, guys. Thanks you, every single one of you who joined in on the action, on the fun. Thank you to everybody that hit the like button. Thank you to everybody that subscribed. Please keep doing that, people, if you're still in the building and haven't done so already, or whether you're watching this on the repeat. Very much appreciated by myself for every single one of you that either joined in or joined in on the chat. Was amazing to talk to each and every single one of you. Loved it. Absolutely loved this very early morning stream. Very fun to do. Very exciting stuff going forward. Like I say, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved in the chat, whether it be about some of the topics that we talked about in this video, or whether it be about some of the topics that you want to talk about in future videos, future live streams, things of that nature. Jota to Spurs for 40 million. I think we can get a bit more out of Spurs for that. Why would Spurs want him anyway? They've got Solanke. They're potentially getting Semenyo. I don't think Jota would necessarily fit, to be honest. And to be fair, Spurs fans probably still haven't forgiven Jota for scoring that fourth goal in the 4-3 filler. Google Diaz Phillips wages. freaking way. No freaking way. All right. Oh, my hands up. No freaking way, though. That's mad. That's mad to me. That's mad. There must be. If it says it, I said I'd say I was wrong, but that's bizarre. That is bizarre. How? For a player that's been in the first team for so long. All right, fair enough. I was wrong. Whatever. Yeah, fine. That's bizarre. Who's getting relegated? It probably will be the three newly promoted teams. In all honesty, it probably will be the three newly promoted teams. I just think there's a big gap between the Premier League and the Championship. You can maybe see one of them potentially staying up, like a Leeds or something. But yeah, I don't know. What are we up to? Who's finishing second, third, and fourth and fifth next season? It's probably going to be again City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and as of right now, I don't even know the fifth spot, to be honest. We'll say Newcastle. We'll say Newcastle right now, but again, that is very open to debate. Google Martinelli wages. $180,000. No. That can't be $180,000 a week for Martinelli, whilst Diaz is on 55k. Surely these facts have got to be skewed or what? That's bizarre. That is bizarre. Yeah, that is mad. That is absolutely mad. I might have to this might have to be my afternoon activity of just comparing people's wages. Like, that is mad. For that fact, Thomas Frank will be Spurs next season. I think it will probably be attract big game players, to be honest. Maybe. We shall see. I mean, they do have Champions League football, but that's probably not going to be sustainable. But yeah, we shall see on what Thomas Frank's going to do at Spurs. Arsenal to finish third this time around. Yeah, I can't see them doing the four-peat. Unless, of course, again, like I say, they do pull off a madness in this transfer window. There's still a long way to go in this transfer window, but yeah, we shall see. Fifth, surely Villa or Newcastle. I probably would lean more towards Newcastle right now, but again, things can change in the transfer window. We should reduce the EPL to 18 teams. United get relegated too. Amusing as that would be, yes, but not legit. Who is the better player between Diaz and Martinelli, and who is getting more wages? I would probably say Diaz. They're both quite inconsistent though, but in saying that, Martinelli is younger and Martinelli does have probably the bigger ceiling than Diaz. So, but yeah, 180k compared to 50. That's, like I say, I might have to dive deeper into that rabbit hole. That's bizarre to me. Let's just say that these players don't need food stamps, even the ones on 50k. Absolutely. I'd love to kick a football around for 50k. Arteta might not be blind, but his football isn't about titles. Proof of that for the past few years. Look at the league table now with 0 games played. What position are Arsenal Banter FC in? Highest LB. Diaz is better not because he plays for LFC. Yeah, there's no bias there. If you were to compare someone that genuinely was better, like I would say that they are because they're better. Arteta loves being the bridesmaid, never the bride. Yeah, I saw the banner at Anfield as well. Yeah, very good banter from the Liverpool crowd, and I loved that it riled up and rattled some Arsenal fans. Look, guys, we're going to have to call it there, I'm afraid. Really lovely to chat to each and every single one of you. Absolutely amazing that you guys joined us on this very early morning live stream. Like I said, didn't hit all the talking points that I wanted to, but we had some very good conversation in regard to Liverpool Football Club and certain players. So really, really did enjoy that. Thank you to every single one of you that joined us. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved in the chat, whether it be about any of the topics that I talked about in the video, whether it be about future videos and topics that you want to talk about for them or for future live streams as well. Get involved. Would love to hear from each and every single one of you on that. Really do appreciate it from you guys. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Final comment here from Steve that says, give Arteta another 800 million to win another FA Cup. We'll wait and see. We wait and we see. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will soon speak with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you all again in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Peace out.